Hello there guys, Elita Legionarii here, and today I'm bringing you my first Medieval 2 Total War game in several months now. As you know, I've got back into my commentary and I've brought you a couple of Rome Total War battles, and I thought now it's time to bring you some Medieval 2. And this was a really nice battle I did day before yesterday. Nice 3v3, it was a really great comeback battle for Medieval 2, and I remember when I was playing it, I just felt that really good old Total War feeling that, you know, I love playing this game. And I absolutely just am thrilled, you know, to be back playing Total War. And I'll be playing as much Medieval 2 as I will be, and uploading as much Medieval 2 as I will be Rome Total War. I do need to get a bit more content for Medieval 2 though. I've got heaps of Rome but not quite as much for Medieval 2, so I'll need to work on that. But this was a really great battle. It's going to have quite an emphasis on very good cavalry action by both teams really. You know, some really nice cavalry strikes and positions, and used in the a way that's very good for Medieval 2. Pretty experienced players in this game, so it was a really nice comeback battle for me, and I had to get my A game on pretty quickly. And I was I felt I was pretty decent from. This was my second game back in Medieval 2, and I felt I was pretty decent, so I was pleased with that. So anyway, it's a 3v3. I'm in command of the Byzantine Empire, and my army consists of. I got 4 units of these Byzantine Guard archers, which are a fairly solid regular archer unit. They're the best the Byzantines can bring forth. They will not be able to compete with crossbow units, which is what they're going to be facing, but I have a plan for that, so not to worry. But they'll hold their own and they'll be useful. For infantry, I've got 2 of these dismounted Byzantine lances on the right wing. These guys are a good cheap unit, good attack, good defense, not the greatest morale, so you do have to be a bit careful of that with them, but they are otherwise a good fill-in unit to bolster your ranks with the Byzantine infantry. Then I've got 4 of them. These should always be your main infantry for the Byzantines. 4 dismounted Laticon. These guys are very good, very solid, comparable to sort of Feudal Knight, Chivalric Knight, in that kind of range. Very useful unit. They do give the Byzantines a very solid infantry corps. They are a wee bit expensive if you're trying to flesh out with more cavalry, which is what I was doing in this battle, which is why I've got the 2 Byzantine lancers. It was the 8-3 cavalry rule that I had been using when I'd been playing a few months ago. So I have a General's Bodyguard, 3 Laticon. I've got the 3 Laticon here because I want them for their 8 charge, which is extremely useful and very effective. They're not the greatest in melee, but they've got that 8 charge, and in my opinion they're much more viable than the Cataphractoi, so I tend to go with those for their charge. And then for the main infantry fighting, cavalry grinding and battling, and then hunting, I go for the Alan Light Cav, which, as you know, is very similar to the Venetian Stratiots. Same kind of, use them in the same way, not quite as good of course, but these guys are still very deadly, very dangerous, and quite easily upgraded extensively, and are an excellent unit, only available to the Byzantines and the Turks, but they flesh out better than the Cataphractoi, and I find them much more useful. They're more kind of on par, sort of similar to the Stratiots, and that makes them very useful, very reliable, in all-round kind of versatility role. Anyway, on my left here is Polish Legion of the Heaven Clan. I see that Polish has bought 5 units of Puppy's crossbowmen. He's playing as Hungary. He's got, for his infantry, he's got, now this is an interesting thing here with the Hungarians, he's got 3 dismounted Chivalric Knights and 2 dismounted Feudal Knights. When you play as Hungary, it is very important, if you want to get the best out of them, of course, unless you're just doing it for fun, but if you want the serious best units, you're actually better off with the Feudal Knights. Unlike other European nations, or Christian European nations, or Catholic European nations, the Hungarian Chivalric Knights are actually weaker than their dismounted Feudal Knights, even though with the other nations they're better. These guys are cheaper and have lower stats, so if you want to go for kind of like a cheap price, they're still a good unit, for they're quite cost effective, but you're better off, in my opinion, just getting the Feudal Knights. So that's just something to take note of with Hungary. So he's only got 5 infantry, but he's got 5 missiles, and of course he's got the 8 cav rule, so he's got 2 units of dismounted Hospitallers up here. Let's see, 2 Chivalric Knights here, a General's Bodyguard, and 3 Royal Banderians. So it's a very strong cavalry contingent, as is to be expected with a faction like Hungary, which is strong cavalry-wise. So I got to say, with Polish Legion, I haven't played with Polish in months. I haven't really played with anybody in months, but I really feel like Polish substantially improved, especially at Medieval 2. I haven't played him on Rome yet, but I just felt he played extremely well in comparison to how he used to play. So good on you, Polish. I really felt you did an awesome job in this game, but I won't give away too much because I don't want to give it away too early for you listeners or viewers. And of course, any game I do, I almost always team up with the SwedishLandSknekt. Swedes is my partner in crime, or at least he tends to be, on Medieval 2. He's playing as Milan. He's got, I believe it was 2 units of muskets, I think, or was it 1? Now, it's 2 units of muskets and 2 Genoese crossbowmen. As you know, Milan is very strong, very capable in the missile contingent, so missile department. So Swedes is going to be very useful in the missile duel. Then we've got 3 units of, he's got 3 units of pipe militia, which look to have extensive defensive upgrades because they've got the proper sort of plated armour there. And then for infantry, he's got 5 sword units. He's got, let's see, 4 dismounted feudal knights and just 1 broken lance that are fleshed out. The feudal knights, of course, are always reliable, always a great unit, very effective. The broken lances are a good unit, but they're lower on the morale, so you do have to take that into account when you use them. And then we have, for Cav, we have, let's see, 1 Famiglia du Calais, 1 men at arms, 2 broken lances, another Famiglia du Calais, 2 Hospitallers, and 1 General's Bodyguard. So a pretty standard sort of contingent, mixed contingent for the Milanese. Anyway, our opponents are, and this was weird, this guy deployed down here, and this is not a good idea on this map, because it makes work harder for your allies. But he's Russia, and he's done something very unusual and inadvisable for Russia. He's only brought 4 Tsar's Guard and 1 General's Bodyguard, so he's got 3 less Cav than usual. And as you know, Russia is very strong on Cav with the Tsar's Guard, but it is very limited in infantry. But it's good on missiles, but he's not really done much in the way of missiles either. He's brought, I think, 1 Devor and 2 Cossack musketeers, and then he's brought about 10 units of British axemen. And as you know, 200 units are not really that effective. They tend to glitch, or they have that glitching effect, and British axemen are not a particularly good 200 unit either. So this is not a good build for Russia. Not enough Cav and not enough missile units. Russia is missile Cav power. Its infantry is really not that spectacular at all, especially not the British axemen. They're good for a bit of a shock rush, but that ain't going to happen here, so this is not a particularly good army for this Russian player here. Anyway, we have the Moors here. This fella here, his name was SlavinTR. I've not played him before, but I played a couple games with him with these guys, and I felt he played rather good. It'd be interesting to see if I can get to play more games against him in future. Anyway, he's got a couple of camel gunners, which is going to be a real nuisance if they are able to do their thing. This is a very good unit, can very easily turn cavalry fights into the team's favour, who has them exceptionally useful in that role, so we'd be very careful of those. But then he's got bodyguard, I think it's 4 Christian Guard and then 1 Grenadine Lancer. He's got 4 units of peasant crossbowmen, and then he's got 4 urban militia and 4 Christian Guard, dismounted Christian Guard. So he's got some good solid infantry, some good solid cavalry for the Moors, but these missile units I really would have just skipped down them. The Moors are very poor on missiles, and they will not do particularly well in this fight, as is to be expected from a unit like this. And then we have, in my opinion, the most experienced player on the enemy team, Teutonic Order here, who's in command of Spain. This guy's an experienced player, and he can be very dangerous. And I haven't played him for a number of months, and I definitely say he's gotten substantially better since I last played against him. I do have a bit of trouble with him in this battle. So he's got a couple of crossbow militia, 3 units of Pavey's crossbowmen, I believe it is 1 dismounted feudal knight here, and his line here of infantry is a mixture of pipe militia and dismounted conquistadors with a mixture of upgrades, some with defensive upgrades and some without. Then he's got, I believe it is 4 conquistador cav, a general's bodyguard, and 2 knights of Santiago. So let's begin the battle, and we'll get started right away. So obviously off the start here we have a fairly good positional advantage, as well as the fact that this guy made a very poor deployment. So although we contemplated doing a rush here at the start, we do have to wait for Swedes to get into position, and we do have a missile advantage here. So we're going to make use of that missile advantage and a bit of a terrain advantage too. However, we are not going to stay up on this hill or camp, because it's not really any of our styles, and we would prefer to get involved as much as possible. However, because I'm facing Spain directly opposite me, I know Spain outclasses me in terms of missiles. But Byzantine Guard Archers are pretty solid for the bow unit, but they will be outclassed by the crossbow units here on the battlefield. So I need to a little bit of insurance that I'm going to be able to come out on top of that fight. So I've asked Polish Legion to send me a couple of Puvvy's crossbowmen, because I know he's only facing these peasant crossbowmen of the Moors, and I know he had 5 units of Puvvy's crossbowmen, so he can spare a couple to help me against a more dangerous opponent, and his Puvvy's crossbowmen will make short work of these peasant crossbowmen. And Swedes can easily support this as well, because he's got missile units to use here as well, and this Russian player is way down here, and he doesn't have very many missile units at all, except for the Cossacks, which Swedes will just be able to use as muskets to counter. So this is a good idea for Polish to bring his guys this way. So what I'll do is I'll use my Alan Light Cav to screen, and then I'll bring my guys forward here, my guard archers, and Polish will sit his crossbows in front so that he doesn't have to fire over the backs of my guys, because he wants that flat trajectory. However, what's going to be interesting in this fight is a lot of the terrain isn't really, like for crossbows it's not very good, because there's a lot of broken terrain in the line of sight here. Fortunately for us, it is worse for Teutonic Order. He's got an even worse scenario there, so that's going to give us that bit of a terrain edge, and that's useful for those crossbow duels, because crossbow duels often come down to who has the best line of sight and line of fire. As you can see here, Teutonic Order knows these peasant crossbowmen are not going to be are going to hinder his Puvvy's crossbowman's line of sight, so he's moving them out to this side. However, I'll take note of this in the fight. If you look out over here, the line of sight's quite a bit better, and not only that, there's better cover as well. So if I had actually been Teutonic Order, he doesn't do this in this fight, but I would have shifted my army a little bit this way, just for the missile duel, because it would have given me the advantage in cover, as well as a better line of sight than what he currently has here. But he's just making room for all his crossbow units. And that's a good idea, but he would have been better to put his Puvvy's crossbowmen out this way and just keep his regular crappier ones here, because it would have given him a better line of sight with his better units and cover, but he didn't actually end up doing that. Anyway, as you can see, I'm going to start the missile duel as well, as is Polish, and we've got better line of sight, so it'll be a long missile duel, but it will be favourable to us. As you can see, Polish is pushing down as well, and Swedes is now pushing up. And we were thinking about getting quite aggressive over this side at this point, but we didn't want to, just in case the Russian player looks like he's probably going to get up here in time, and these guys would theoretically be able to delay us quite well, long enough for the Russian player to help, so you didn't want to make any too hasty manoeuvre here, especially when we have a missile advantage, and we may as well use it to whittle down our opponents and allow them to have to fight on our terms anyway. So we could have rushed, and we probably would have come across some success, but theoretically we don't really need to. It's not a drastic concern. We already have an advantage, and a good one, so we might as well take advantage of it while we have it. So as you can see, the missile duel's going on. As you can see, it is going in our favour thus far. I'm trying to make sure my guys are not getting in the way of Polish's men here. They were moving forward to get into range, but I don't want them getting in front of Polish's guys, because he needs that trajectory. And as you can see, some of his shots have got to go above, but he's still getting hits off here, and Teutonic Order will steadily lose that duel. It'll be quite a long duel because of the kind of terrain we're on, but it will be a loss for him. As you can see, there was a bit of a cav move here by the Moorish player, trying to get Swedes crossbowmen, but as you can see, Swedes is now screening with his pikes, and I did have some couple of cav nearby just to give him a bit of an assist. As you can see, the muskets are now firing away here, and these guys are quickly mowing down these peasant crossbowmen. They'll be doing severe morale damage, and these guys are only peasants, so they're really not going to be able to hack that for too long. At this stage, the Russian player has been running to get up here because of his bad deployment, which is good. I was saying to the guys here, I was saying, instead of rushing the Moors like we thought about doing, we should wait for the Russian player to get up here, because as you can see, his guys are exhausted, so let's catch him while he's exhausted on lower terrain. So in a moment we're going to start preparing cav to make a quick cav strike out here, and we're going to try and quickly knock out the Russian cav. If we get rid of these SARS guard, the Russian player will be extremely weak, which will be extremely good for us, because if he loses his cav early on and they can't help their allies later on in the battle, it's going to give us a substantial edge to us, because Russia really is quite dependent on their cavalry, as you know. So I've said it before in other battles, with Russian players, if you can bait them into wasting their cavalry on for no profitable gain, then it's very, very beneficial, because Russia is very dependent on their cav. So as you can see, we're going to start our charge now. Swedes is going to charge down here with these Tsar's Guard. Now the Tsar's Guard, pound for pound, are better than Swedes' cav, but they're more exhausted, more tired, and we've got more men up here, and I've got a few men coming in as well. So I'm going to try and slink this one round behind for a bit of a assault around the side, and same over here. So is this what Swedes is doing, and Polish is sending 1 or 2 pieces of cav to help as well. The Moors recognise the dangers, so they're sending some support as well. But these Tsar's Guard are putting up a good fight, because they are superior cav, but they are tired, and they're on a slightly uphill disadvantage. They're going uphill against us. That gave us a better downhill charge. The Moors are going to come in. Polish makes a nice move intercepting here, but he is going to hit the back of my guys here, which have hit the back of these Tsar's Guard. But I believe, because that was a great charge with the Chivalry Knights of Polish, these guys routed right away. They were only the Grenadier Lines, so they have pretty low morale. Through the centre here, as you can see, Polish and Swedes missile units have mowed down a good deal of these peasant crossbowmen. As I said, they've been very limited in their effectiveness. And over here, as you can see, Teutonic Order is, as I said, it's a long missile duel, but he will lose it because the terrain is unfavourable to him, which isn't good for him. So at this stage, as you can see, we're just waiting to get rid of these Russian cav. So I get a rear charge in here, and we start causing a mass rout in the Russian cav. This is exactly what we want. When Russia loses its cav, it's that much weaker. It's a faction that is very dependent on its cavalry for its striking force, as well as its missiles. And because this guy didn't bring particularly many missiles, we're going to be able to take a substantial advantage at the start. I also see him making mistakes here with these exhausted British axemen out in the open, so I'm going to turn my Ladicon around, and I'm going to put some heavy charges down. And as you can see, I'm going to inflict some substantial losses on these guys, and because their morale is they're exhausted, rather, their morale is low, and as you can see, they rout very quickly. And I'm going to repeat this several times with these exposed units. As you can see, though, this is where I talk about the thumbnail for this battle. It's called Cavalry Clashes. Lot of cavalry strikes being sent all over the battlefield throughout this battle. I'm sending in charges against those infantry, back and forward charges here at each other's missile units to try and get an edge. We're doing a lot of jockeying there for position there and advantage. My cav does rout there, but it will come back. But it's been hammering these Russian infantry extensively. It's probably getting shot at by these Cossacks, that's why it's routing, but it should keep coming back. Sweden is going to make some charges here, so we're a wee bit careful he doesn't get shot up too bad here. But these infantry are very exposed. There's very little cover for them, so we're taking advantage of this with the Russian players. So we're charging in here. Sweden wants to get rid of these muskets. He's probably not going to be able to. They're going to extricate themselves, but he will still get these British axemen, and that's going to cause real damage as well. So it's really good for us from this perspective. You know, he's done a lot of damage. The Moors are backing here with their units, but I'm sending more units in here as well. So lots of cavalry charges coming in all around the battlefield, and these exposed Russian units are really taking a beating. And as you can see, there's a bit of a mass rout going on amongst the Russian infantry there. If we look on the other side of the battlefield, the missile duel is going in our favour, so this is good. I'm just going to pause it. We've taken the advantage against the Russian player. We've exposed his cav, taken it out while it's exhausted, and then now we're striking at a lot of his infantry here, and we won the missile duel. So it's going to force them to have to react and attack us when we want them to on our terms, because we have taken the advantage early on in the battle. Let me just turn that music down. That seems awfully loud. That's better. But as you can see, we're going to keep making cavalry strikes. I see some more exposed infantry here. The Moorish player sees what I'm trying to do, so he's going to try and intercept me, but I should be able to get a charge off with these guys here. Try and charge these guys right now. I think I was going for that unit over there, so it didn't work very well, but I'm going to be able to get this unit in, though, undisturbed. So bang. So yeah, these Ladicon have really ripped up a lot of units, as has Swedes cav. But as you can see, again, the Spanish and the Moors are making strikes out their missile units because they know they can't lose the missile duel. Because they lose the missile duel, we'll just be able to shoot them up and take our time, basically. So they really, really need to get an advantage here, because we've got all the advantages. And this Russian player keeps making a lot of mistakes, a lot of exposed men. So we're really striking out at them a lot here. I particularly like what Polish is doing in this battle. As you can see, he's got cav all over the battlefield. He's making strikes up the centre, he's guarding our centre, he's supporting here, he's allowing me and Swedes the freedom and time to work over the Russian player until his infantry is destroyed. He's also got cavalry over here, so he's doing his central role very well, which is why I was saying at the start there, I think Polish has really improved from when I last played with him. He's backing us very well, he's supporting all over the field, he's playing the central role extremely well, and he's giving me and Swedes room to do what we're doing on our flanks, and he's reading the battlefield really well. It's something he never used to be quite as good at, and he's gotten a lot better at from what I can see, so good on you, Polish. Over here I used my fast moving Alien light cav just to see if I can make a feint charge at this unit here, reveals this unit, so I'm going to slink over here and see if I can gobble up some of these units in the centre here, while the Spanish cav and Moorish cav is occupied in the middle there with good, like, more feint attacks from Polish, giving me the freedom to do my thing over here. So I managed to rout one of these guys here, extricate the Alien light cav, no real losses, get a few shots into the cav, so there's really lots of cavalry clashes all over the battlefield, and great stuff happening here. Good move by the Moorish player. Polish does make a bit of an error here, he's not covered it well. I sent an Alien light cav to back him up. The Spanish cav's over here, Swedes sees some trouble going on over here, drives back the Spanish cav. Polish sees as a bit of a danger, so he's going to move in for a bit of a flank, and we're going to try and kill this Christian guard while it's isolated. Sends in more cavalry just to back up. Probably not going to get a great charge because my unit's going to blunt him there, but the point is we're going to trap that Moorish cav, and it should rout. It's shaken. As you can see, the Spanish cav's moved up, and I'm using more of my Alien light cav just to mow down some of these more of these puppies crossbowmen. Polish is making more feint attacks here. Basically, he's not going to take an engagement, but he's just keeping Teutonic Order occupied so that one of our either he or I can hit units that are exposed. That's good combination work that he was working with me there. It was roughly around this point of the battle I was saying to Swedes and Polish, let's focus again on simply wiping the Russian player off the field, because these guys are going to start attacking us soon, because they have to, otherwise they're just going to get beaten by attrition basically. So let's quickly make a strike on this wing, knock this depleted Russian player out and roll the flank up, because I know I'm going to become the target of an aggressive attack from Teutonic Order very soon, because it's the only option he's got available to him, and the Moors are still fairly strong as well, but these guys are weak and exposed. So amass our cavalry over here, get a decisive win over here, and I'll play a delaying action over here, and hopefully we can roll this flank over and then wrap up Spain. That was sort of the general what developed as a battle strategy at the time. As you can see, a lot of cavalry all strewn throughout the field, missiles and everything. It was, as I said, I think that cavalry clashes was a good name to call this, because it was very much what was going on in this battle. Everyone was zooming cav all over the battlefield, and a very medieval 2 sort of style of play, those cav making the strikes and really being the thunder behind the armies. And they did do a lot of damage all sides. So as you can see, Polish is still making some actions over here, just seeing if he can bait out some of these units. And here comes the manoeuvre by Teutonic Order. He knows he has to do something soon, because this is a real problem over here. I know with only 6 infantry up against, I think he's got about 8 or so infantry, I know I'm going to have a bit of trouble here. I've still got plenty of cav, although I've sent most of it this way for the attack. That we're going to make against the Russians, to knock him out quickly and then roll up the flank here on the Moors. Well, that was the plan. So I'm a wee bit thin on cavalry over here, so I'm going to need to be very careful on kind of the engagements I take, because the Spanish player has superior infantry to me, and he has more of it than me. So I do need to be careful. He's got, I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sword infantry and several pikes. I only have 6 infantry and I am outclassed, so I do have to be careful there. Here you can see Polish makes a charge against these Moorish Christian Guard. His Royal Banderium will be able to defeat those. They are 2 units, but he's a better unit, and I'm going to go around the flank to support it. Over here, as you can see, this is where we make a combined team strike. All 3 of us send our cav, get rid of these Russian troops while we can, and mass rout them before I take a lot of pressure from the Spanish player on the other flank, who's really pressuring me now. But as you can see, it was a good move by all 3 of us. Combined cavalry strike mass routs the Russians, so now we can start rolling the flank around, because as you can see, these guys are going to send cav and units out to me, and as you can see, this is a nice move by Teutonic Order. Look what he's doing, he's taking my flank so he can get the high ground to come in behind me. And I was a little bit slow on my micro here. I've put my guys into guard mode. I'm going to try and delay them and hold them, because I know these Spanish infantry are going to defeat me. so I've got to try and stop that. So I'm going to try and get onto the high ground to stop this unit getting onto the high ground, and get around there. I've got some of my cav over here still to help with that Russian attack on the Russians, so I'm going to have to quickly extricate units to get them over here. But a few micro mistakes here. Some of my units are walking, so that's not so good. But at the start of the battle, you may have remembered I said this amount of Byzantine Lancers didn't have the best morale. They've buckled very quickly under the combined attack, so my right wing's completely broken open. My Laticon are solid. They are holding out because they're a good unit. Even though the Conquistadors are a superior unit, with guard mode on, these guys will hold out and hold their own quite well. But I will eventually lose, and I've got threatening cav on my flank here, and they're going to slip through this gap, so I'm going to need cavalry support very quickly, or I'm going to find myself in a lot of trouble because this wing has buckled open, and I have to use my cavalry over here to keep this cavalry out. But as you can see, I'm starting to get flanked over here, so I'm having to pull off some of my units here, and I am outnumbered on infantry and cavalry in the area, and my Byzantine Lancers went very quickly there, so I asked Swedes and Polish for cav. Again, they were right there on the zone. Even though I'm getting double attacked on two wings by cav, they back me extremely well, and they stop what I would have said would have been overrun. He would have overrun my position had that not happened, which is why I recommended earlier in the battle to knock out the Russians so that we could stabilise that flank in case this one got lost. And it worked out well because we won it quick enough for them to come and help me. It worked out well because I'm pretty sure Teutonic order would have probably overwhelmed my infantry. I might have had cavalry to use and maybe a few missile units, but I would have been overwhelmed over here. But it was a good thing that we did that attack on the Russian player because it allowed us to knock that flank over, and then we can start working together as a team to take out the remainder of these Spanish forces. So we start pouring our cavalry on. Swedes is in here with his cav. Polish is in with his cav, and some of these Spanish units are starting to rout. The Moors are trying to back this now. In the centre, as you can see, the looks like the Spanish general just got killed. That'll help lower their morale.
Now his men will lose heart.
Yes, as you can see, he's still doing quite a bit of damage here, but I won my cavalry fight up over here with my Alan light cav, so now I'm free to come into the back of the Spanish lines. As you can see, the Moors have started engaging Polish in the centre. Polish is outclassed in infantry by the Moors for the most part, so Swedes is going to reinforce them here, and with their numbers they should be able to hold the Moors at bay. And at this stage I'm getting rear charges in with my units here. My infantry is held with the support of my allies here, stop their Spanish army from rolling up my flank there, so good support from my allies. I think I would have lost that position. I probably would have been able to extricate some cav, but I would have lost my infantry there when he rolled that flank. It was a good move by Teutonic order. He did make a good action there. He knew he had to, but it didn't quite work off for him too well for him because the Russian player got knocked out, so he didn't have enough support, and I did. So the Russian Spain has been defeated, and as you can see, the Moors are holding on here, but they're overwhelmed, outnumbered, and now these guys are free to go and assist, and I've got units free as well, so I'm going to go hunt them down. And I think that was Teutonic order admitting defeat, so that's Spain completely out of the game now. And now I'm going to send my guys in here as well, and I'm going to go in for a rear charge into the back here. It's going to be a nice charge here from Polish. Let's see. So bang, he mows down into the back of these Moorish troops, and they're going to start routing. And I got units behind the lines now, and that's going to be, it's pretty much a GG at this point. So a lot of really good cavalry action, but very, very good teamwork. A very good teamwork from Polish and Swedes here. They played their respective roles extremely well. We were all over each other's side of the battlefield. I mean, I had units over there, Swedes had units over here, Polish was all over the place. And it's good, good coordinated teamwork, and enabled us to pull off a win.
We have captured the enemy's general. That will teach the cowardly dog to run. Praise to our Lord. Our men have slain the enemy general. Now his men will lose heart.
Swedes is a butcher. Yes, shut up. Sorry about that. I hate when I should just turn him off, actually. I think I'll just turn him off because he keeps interrupting me. Let's see. Yeah, he's really loud, so let's just turn him way, way, way down. Swedes was a butcher. He killed all 3 generals in this game, so Swedes the general slayer. He did a nice job of that. But as I was saying, it was really, really good teamwork in this particular battle. I do think it would have been much harder for us if the Russian player had been more competent as a player, because Oh, well, I'm not trying to be mean. It's not so much he deployed badly, he brought a bad army. I don't know the guy. I'm just saying he made it very hard for Teutonic and Slavin to do their part, even though they did do well. The Russian player really weakened their team, and we took advantage of that very quickly, and I think that was a substantial reason as to why we won. As you can see here, Swedes comes with our top kills and captures, but myself and Polish by no means are behind that much. We have certainly got our own substantial kills and captures ourselves. And that's one thing I really like. I do like it when you play Total War, and everybody has a similar kill count or close kill counts, because sometimes people look at kills and think, oh, that person did way more stuff than the other guys, but that's not the case. Everybody on the team worked as a team really well, and everybody did their part, and without the actions of one or the other, it wouldn't have been able to be pulled off as successfully. So sometimes, even though someone gets less kills, their role is absolutely critical to the success. So you should never base a game on how many kills you've got or how many kills someone got, even though getting lots of kills is nice. I mean, and that's why I like when everybody on the team's got close kill counts, because it kind of relays that they all played an even role, because it just shows it easier, if you know what I mean. But yeah, as I was saying, this is a really good battle. It was a great battle, a great comeback battle for me for Medieval 2 Total War. I think everyone played very well. I think that this Russian player made a few mistakes, probably a new player, which is understandable. But I think everyone else played very well. It was a challenging battle. I think most improved player goes to Polish. Great work, Polish. I think you were really good in this battle. You did exceptionally well, and I really enjoyed working alongside you. Swedes is always awesome to work with. Me and him are probably, Swedes is probably the best 2v2 or battle partner I have in any Total War. Biscuits here as well for Rome Total War. Biscuits is probably the best Rome Total War partner I have as well. Or then again, there's lots of people I make good partnerships with. Biscuits and Swedes probably my favourites to work with. For Medieval 2, it's definitely Swedes, but there's tons of people I enjoy working with. I can work with very, very well. If we're talking Rome Total War, Cleo is great to work with as well. Beast, everyone's really, really great to work with there. Anyway, I'm sort of getting off on a tangent here. Let me just look at the kills. So my Ladikon, lots of kills against those Russian infantry. The Alien Light Cav didn't get a whole lot of kills, but they went toe to toe with a lot of that Spanish Cav and infantry. So they did well though. They're a great unit. My Guard Archers did very, very well. Ordinarily in a flat terrain, they would easily lose that missile duel against Spain, but they had better terrain, they had support from Polish, so that's why I come out on top there. The Dismounted Ladikon, they did nice. They didn't get many kills, but they held all those Spanish infantry back, which is why they're good. Put them in guard mode, solid stats, they can hold their own against some very, very powerful infantry. The Dismounted Byzantine Lancers, as I said, quite low morale, and that was a bit dangerous putting them on the flank like that, because Teutonic Order nearly destroyed my right flank there. Or nearly overwhelmed it. He did destroy it, but I managed to recover with some support from Swedes and Polish. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed playing this battle and commentating it. I think everyone played well. I'll link Swede's channel, of course. I'm sure he'll appreciate it because it's a great channel. You should drop by and check it out. It is fantastic. So once again, guys, thanks for watching. Tell me what you think. Comments are great. I love the feedback. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you soon next time.